All right. So that brings us to the next Mishnah, which is on Daf Tetamad Bet. Okay. Okay, Mishnah, good. All right, so here we get, once again, why is this here for? Because it's going to set the stage for the Mishnah that follows, which is about not making sure that you don't do things too close to Shabbos. And the concern is that if you do then you may, run into Shabbos. And the issue here is really about forgetting about the time for Tfilat Mincha, or Tfilat Marav, we'll see in the Gemara in some cases. And therefore you shouldn't get involved in certain things when you're close to the time for Mincha. Okay, how much is close? Close is a half hour.
This is any Mincha, not Erev Shabbos.
This is any Mincha, any Mincha. Now the question really is, which Mincha does it mean? Mincha can mean one of two times. Mincha Gedola, not Plaga Mincha, Mincha Gedola, Mincha Ketana. Mincha Gedola is a half hour after Chatzot, so now it's 1:30 approximately, maybe 22. We have it later, and Mincha Ketana is going to be a half hour after the ninth hour, right? So it'll be about 3:30. That's Mincha Ketana. The actual times themselves come from when they brought the afternoon sacrifice. They would start bringing the afternoon sacrifice at our time of Mincha Ketana, a half hour afternoon. And I'm going to just correct that. If it's after the ninth hour today, it'd probably be after 4:30, right? Not after 3:30. We're in daylight savings time now. And Mincha Ketana, which is that ninth hour, 3:30 or 4:30 now, is when they always finish bringing the carbon. So consequently, that's why they're identified. Plaga Mincha is halfway between Mincha Ketana and sunset. That's where the term Plaga Mincha comes from. So it's an hour and a half, or an hour and a quarter. It's an hour and a quarter before sunset. Let's do it again. 12 o'clock is midday. 12:30 on a regular day is Mincha Gedola. 3 o'clock is 9 hours. 3:30 is Mincha Ketana, and then we're assuming that sunset is at 6 o'clock. So there are 2.5 hours between Mincha Ketana and sunset. Plaga Mincha, plag means to break in half, is half the time. The reason for Plaga Mincha has to do with the fact that there are opinions that say that that nightfall begins, this is already evening. Okay, so that's where the plag minyan that happens here in this shul and many other places, which has become very popular in the evenings, right? Not just Shabbos, but throughout the week. So what's important for us is while you can daven mincha, the whole time, you want to try to daven mincha at the ideal time. The question, what would be the ideal time? Mincha Gedola or Mincha Ketana? Okay, so but at this point it doesn't explain it. Lo yeshev adam lifnei asapar samach lamincha. Person can't sit in front of the should not sit in front of the sapar, is the barber, close to mincha. No, you shouldn't go for a haircut before mincha. I know you're going to tell me you all do. Okay, the reasons the post can talk about why this Mishnah may not apply to us.
Slower barbers.
Well, maybe correct. Okay, I stopped too quickly. Achi palel, until a person davens mincha. In other words, if it's a half hour before mincha, you can go to the barber at 11 o'clock, but you shouldn't go to the barber a half hour before the time to daven mincha. The question: what time is that? Either 12:30 or 3:30. We'll have a whole discussion in the Gemara.
Does it matter? It's the time that you daven. What I mean is, what I'm trying to say is, does it really matter which mincha?
Optimal time.
Well,
that you daven.
It does make a difference, because if you decide to daven a Mincha Gedola and you miss it, you've got plenty of time to catch up with it later on. If you miss Mincha Ketana, so you may.
The later one.
Right, the later one only gives, if you miss Mincha Ketana, you only have 2.5 hours, so you really may get tied up with things. So therefore, if the greater concern would be, for example,
why can't it be the mincha just like we done, just before the end of the day, just before that?
So the concern would be that if it's not, everybody's mincha is different. These seems to be set times. The Gemara will talk about that. So in other words, if you don't do certain things on time, you tend to forget for them to be done. Okay? Now there may be differences if you have a schedule to go to a shul and the shul daven's late, and so you're automatically going to go. You remember because you go every day at 7 o'clock. And
they were aided by the fact that in Bavel and Eretz Yisrael, mincha is more or less the same time all year round.
Correct.
Because they're close to the equator.
Yes.
But it's very different for us here.
Correct. So therefore we have to be very careful. Yes.
It's very different here.
Correct. Okay. Right.
And even more difficult I assume the higher you go up or the lower you are.
Okay. Well, not to spill all the beans now. The poskim some say that it may be different today when we have shamans in the town used to run around to tell people to come to shul.
Probably give you a signal or something.
Okay. So
Then who knows?
right. So and we have quicker barbers. Okay. We hope we have quicker barbers, right? But, right. No. The question is what's going to take so long with a haircut? Right. What's the big deal? So we'll talk about it in the tomorrow.
They didn't have scissors.
They actually did have scissors.
You think they did?
They did have scissors. They had
Scissors,
scissors.
though.
Yes, they did.
Sure.
They had 2 blades. Yes, they did. I'm not sure what they called. They're called zug.
Yeah,
the-
okay,
the-
2 blades, whatever.
A zug is a pair, so it means it was two kinds of blades together that work together.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did have them. In fact, that looks like exactly how they took a haircut. They did not use electric machines like
They
we
didn't
do.
have
They had the,
They had the,
They had barber surgeons too.
they had the,
Bunkus.
No, Bunkus, what's Bunkus gonna?
the smooth,
Clippers?
smooth off, what do you call it?
The powder,
Powder.
Oh,
Yes.
they used
right.
a depilator.
right?
scissors, it
Something
was like
takes
2
hair out.
blades. I don't think they had a screw in the middle. It was 2 blades like a U.
Maybe, I don't know.
If you see sewing, these were sewing, it's like a
Okay,
U.
could be. Whatever it was, there was some kind of instrument that was used. It was specialized, and it's like all instruments. If it breaks, you may have to go get it fixed. Your barber probably will pull another machine out of the drawer. Okay, now, so at any rate, let's just do the Mishnah. We'll get into the
Yeah,
Gemara. So first of all, you shouldn't go to a barber because this apparently was a big deal right before Mincha. Now, what was a big deal? So we'll have to see that in the Gemara. Lo yikanes adam lemerchatz. A person should not go into the bathhouse. The bathhouse, once again, is not exactly like taking a shower. Bathhouse was there was an inner room and an outer room. There was a schwitz, and there was a dry schwitz, wet schwitz, everything else.
Once you're paying, you want the.
Once you're right, you want to get the whole work, so to speak. We'll see that in the Gemara. And once again, there was a more laborious process. It was actually considered healthy, so people may have stayed there quite a long time. And that also you were exposed to some extreme heats, and we'll see from the Gemara it is possible that maybe you may faint. Right, because of the extreme heats that you're exposed to in the bathhouse. Remember, the floor is really steam. There's hot water and steam underneath the floors.
Absolutely, those Romans.
This is the way they made the Roman bathhouses. You had pillars, you had a stone floor on top of the pillars, and underneath there was a furnace on the side. They heated the water up, and the steam went underneath it, or the water went underneath it, and this is what made the steam bath. Right? So at any rate, this was fairly more complicated than taking a bath today or taking a shower. Once again, so you shouldn't do that before mincha. Leikanas ad lamerchatz v'lo leborski. Borski is a tannery. Which hides were processed. We forget how much hides do need to be processed. They can become leather. They can become tefillin. They could become leather coats. So, but to make them into leather coats or anything that's leather required a lot of work. It's a laborious process. It actually was a very smelly process. There were there was building codes about building borskis outside of town. Right, it was because of all the chemicals, the harsh chemicals that were needed to process and to tan the hide, so to speak. So you shouldn't, if you are the tanner in the town, or you work in a tannery, you shouldn't go into the tannery right before mincha. You can go in the morning. Right, and you can go in the morning and get stuck there, but you shouldn't go right before mincha until you daven mincha. V'lo le'echol, and you shouldn't eat right before mincha. V'lo l'din, you shouldn't go into judgment. V'mentchilo, and if, however, you did start this already, in other words, you went to judgment, you went to eat, sit down and eat, you went to the merchatz, you went to the sapar, you went to the borski, ein mafsikin. Okay, you shouldn't stop. You're already there already. So once again, you did this. So once you should finish off what you're doing, because chances are you're going to get out on time. Right? No one says you're going to stay there all day in the barber, but you shouldn't do it initially in case something happens, and that's period. And then the last 5 words or 4 words, mafsikin, should be lekrot kriyashma or lekriyashma. You actually stop to recite kriyashma, because kriyashma is a mitzvah in Torah. Ve'mafsikin letfila, and you don't stop if you started for mincha. Now, this seems like we just said at the beginning of the Mishnah. The Mishnah says if you started it, you don't stop.
Right.
Right? If you metchilo mafsikin. So the Gemara is going to talk about what this actually refers to. It may refer to actually Marav. Okay, but for Kriyat Shema, if the time for Kriyat Shema is coming, even though if you sat down to eat, you should stop eating and say Kriyat Shema.
Kriyat Shema in the morning you're talking about?
Kriyat Shema in the evening usually, or Kriyat
Is
Shema.
that no, I know, it's either in the morning or in the evening.
Correct.
So
So
they're talking about mincha, so I don't understand.
so Kriyat Shema is not one of the whenever Kriyat Shema would be.
This is just a different
Right.
topic.
That's why, and I told you that's why the last line of Yom
Yeah, it's
Hafsikin
hard to
Tefillah,
understand
we just said that as well, would also be about Marav. The question you want to know is why would you stop for Kriyat Shema and you would not stop for Marav? Right, that's a good question. It says you should stop for Kriyat Shema, but you don't have to stop for Tefillah.
Is one Midoraisa?
One is Midoraisa, but usually when you stop for one, you stop for the other. Our normal pattern is to stop, and say Kriyat Shema together in Marav or in Shacharis.
Because they didn't want to.
Maybe they didn't have.
Maybe, whatever, okay? So maybe the minhag was not necessarily keep them always together. Okay, anyways, Hi Samach LaMincha. So Gemara has a question. So these are the cases. Once again, not Shabbos cases per se, but they're cases about preparation. Hi Samach LaMincha. I'm saying, Hi Samach LaMincha. Which mincha are we talking about Samach LaMincha? Which mincha? I guess usually which high Eze Samach LaMincha we're talking about. Elem LaMincha Gedola. If you say it's Mincha Gedola 12:30 in the afternoon, Amailo. Why can't you go to the barber and the burski and the eat and the din and everything else? Hoika Sheut Biyom Tuva. There's plenty of time. So even if you get busy in the meal, you get busy in the barber. What do you mean to say at 11:30 or 12 o'clock? You're not going to be out before the sun sets at 6. Ella must be. So that makes no sense. Ella Samach LaMincha Ketana must be Mincha Ketana, which is, we said like 3:30. So that makes sense a little bit more. So in Mischilo Ein Mafsikin. So period. So that makes a little more sense, because if I go into the barber, maybe the barber is going to give me such a shave and such a such a haircut that I may be there for 4 hours and miss the time for Mincha. So if that's the case, and then the Mishnah says, Im Mischilo Ein Mafsikin. If they started, I shouldn't stop. So, but why? Name to have it Yufta, the Rabbi Shubban Levi, the Rabbi Shubban Levi. Kevan she gets man tfilat mincha. Asur la adam shiitam klum kodem shit palal tfilat mincha. So in other words, we have a statement of Rabbi Shubban Levi. If it means mincha ketana, but once mincha ketana comes, it looks like, according to Rabbi Shubban Levi, that I can't do anything before that. And what do you mean if I started, I should continue? How can I continue? I should stop right there. So if it's mincha ketana, it seems to be that I should stop right away, even if I started it.
It seems like either mincha, no? I mean.
Well, if it's mincha gedola, so why can't I go in? There's plenty of time. If it's mincha ketana, Rabbi Shubban Levi says, if it's mincha ketana, you can't do anything before you daven mincha. So therefore, so I can't continue. So it can't be mincha ketana. So what is it going to be? So the Gemara gives two answers. Ella, says the Gemara, li'olam samach lemincha gedola. Really, it's early in the day, the 12:30 mincha. So what's the problem going into 12:30 mincha? It's 12:30, eating at 12 o'clock, a half hour before mincha gedola. What's going to take me so long? So it's got to be something really special. Uvitisporet ben elasha. We're dealing with a special haircut that nobody really understands what it is. I saw there's a picture in Steinsaltz. Okay.
Look at this. This is like this is one of your
Okay.
what shall I say?
The Barbados from Barbados.
Exactly. This is a guy who really wants to be.
I'm not sure what it is. I'll tell you what Rashi says. What Rashi says, no one really understands and knows what this is. But Rashi refers us to a Gemara Masechet Nadarim, who was first of all Ben Elasha. Ben Elasha was the son-in-law of Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda ben Nasi had a ton of money. He was quite rich. So this guy wanted to show everybody what the haircut of the Kohen Gadol looked like in the days of the Beis HaMikdash. You know, like the Temple Institute? He wanted to get this special haircut. Now, we don't know exactly what the special haircut was, despite what Rabbi Steinsaltz puts in, but it's as follows, says Rashi. Shehaya misaper kol rosho v'lo legamre. He would cut his entire head, but not completely, but like almost like a zero. All right? But there's still a little bit there. And what would he leave? Ve'elamaniach kol asarot k'tzat. He would leave a little bit of all the hairs.
Sounds like a mohawk. Yeah, they got a mohawk.
Sounds like a Hasidic haircut almost.
But those,
Let me finish this, okay? Because you'll see it gets more complicated.
Where are you reading
I'm reading from Rashi. Rashi's Ben Elasha. It's about middle of the page.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was this? It's a real short haircut, but you leave all of the hairs in a short fashion. Kadeshi hey rosho shalzeh betzad ikaro shalzeh. It would be the top of one hair would be next to the root of the next hair.
like short, like a zero, you said.
I don't know what that means. How could the top of one hair be next to the root of another hair?
Very
So,
short. It's very
so I
short.
understand this to be like Steinsaltz had, only in microcosm, a microsystem, where every hair bent over so that one hair goes to the next, almost like a, not even a,
Like
it's more,
dreadlocks.
So
That's what the
dreadlocks are long.
What do you mean
no,
like
no, it could be
huge?
also just short.
But how would you do that? You couldn't do that.
That's what took so long to get this done. Now you understand.
How do you starch it, or what do you do? Starch whatever you use.
I don't know. No, I don't know, and Rashi didn't know. Rashi with the point of it being whatever this was, and that's why it's what Steinsaltz has there is not exactly what Rashi is referring to. Steinsaltz is probably giving you some kind of fancy Roman haircut that he found in some kind of or some kind of statues or
He
something.
refers back to Nadarim.
Okay, but the Nadarim tell the quote from Rashi is giving you the Nadarim and tells us
Yeah.
that it's this short haircut. I don't know how short is short. That the top of one hair is next to the root of the next hair. I don't understand how it is. I don't understand what it is. But here's what the bottom line is: if you want to get this right, it took you all day.
Right.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
Okay, see?
yeah,
But like, well, why does he come to this very unusual?
because we're trying to say now what the problem is not being able to go into a haircut before 12:30 to have an early mincha.
But I'm saying, whoever submitted that rule doesn't say what this would be what he's
That's what
talking
it is. The
about.
top is the
Well,
root.
what we're saying is
That's what he's saying.
what we're saying. Therefore, we're talking about an elaborate kind of hairdo, like, and forgive me for saying something that's politically not correct. Like women go have their hair done, can be done all morning, right?
Sure.
Okay, all these whatever it is, and they go for this and go for that. People can make appointments and hairdressers for a long period of time.
But
Not like you and me that want to be out of there in 10 minutes.
why do we have to focus on this particular one thing?
But
No, but why don't we just say, just general, don't do anything that is gonna drag you into, don't start a chess game. Don't do
okay,
anything that's
even if
gonna
I have a
drag you into
chance,
something else.
correct. So these were things that could look like they could take a long period of
But
time.
people didn't do this regularly. This
Ben Elisha did.
He did, yeah, I'm saying.
So it doesn't mean
you're
doesn't
picking-
mean
you're
this
picking a
haircut
far
only. It means
example.
that it was a type of elaborate haircut, the type of elaborate hairdo that required a long period of time. So consequently, if you come for this haircut appointment at 12 o'clock, maybe the guy has to take care of things and do this. He's got to do a wash and a soak and a shampoo and and before you know it, you come out of there, it's already 5 o'clock, and then you've got to run to do something else. And you forget about mincha. That's what it means. It means not a regular haircut. You go to the barber in 20 minutes, you're out. Wherever you go, it's a 20-minute thing. You can go for 20 minutes, go at 12 o'clock, you'll be out by 12:30.
You're going for hairstyling.
So you're right. It seems like it's illogical, and that's why the Gemara will give another answer, which I'm not sure we're going to get to today, in terms of what exactly this is, which mincha it is. But right now, this has to be something that is so elaborate that if you went at 12 o'clock, you may get stuck there for hours on end. So that's the first thing. So what kind of tisporet? Tisporet ben alasha. V'lo lemerchatz, you shouldn't go into the merchatz. What's the problem with the merchatz? So the bathhouse, you can go into the bathhouse for an hour, but this is lakula milsa the merchatz. You got all of the works. You went there for a shvitz, you went there for a massage, you went there to clean your toes, a manicure, a pedicure, whatever they did. You took the day off,
Those Romans.
right? Those Romans knew how to live it up, right?
And we obviously
Correct.
thought it
So in
was-
other words, if you're simply going to get clean, right? Because that's how they went. That's what the bathhouse was for. There was no home plumbing, so you could be out in an hour. But if you take the day off and this is you want to pamper yourself, you could be there, like be in a jacuzzi and a pool and everything, right? And all these spas, right? These are spa. You're going for the spa for the day. So that's what it means for the kula milsa, for the entire thing of the merchatz. V'lo leburski, and you're not going into a tannery. So the Gemara says, what burski? Burski gedola, big tannery. So you're afraid you walk in there, it's a humongous factory. It's got hundreds and hundreds of skins. Why are you going in, by the way? You're going in to check, to process them, move them around. But you walk in to work, right? So, but you go in there, it's not going in for 5 minutes. It's not like you're checking the skins and coming out. You be there a day. So you say, well, I'm only going to go in for an hour because I got to have a mincha at 12:30. You end up being there 6 hours. You come out, the sun is already set. That's what this means. So it means all these big things is what is being put out that you can't do, even early in the day. V'lo lechol, what's going to be the corollary for eating? V'lo lechol b'suda gedola. We're talking about a big meal, right? A big communal meal. So you can't even stop it. You're stuck with the crowd. Like, I don't know, think of a wedding in the afternoon. V'lo ledin, and not for going to judgment. What kind of judgment are we talking about? Betchilat din, Okay, we're dealing with the beginning of judgment, the beginning of the court sitting in session. So, which can, until the judges sit down, anyone who's ever been, we got someone here who does alternative resolution, right? Until a case comes to court, until they sit, until they this and that, it can be hours. Would you agree? Even in your
Well,
business.
first of all, there'd be people ahead of you. Stuff.
Right, but even when you come into the beginning of the din, so in other words, until they come in, then they recess, they come back, you could be there more than you expect. So that's tchila din. So no, the tchila din means not just the actual presenting of arguments, all of the prep and all the collecting of the documents can take a whole lot of time. So that is that's really the opinion that says mincha gedola. Let's just finish up the opinion that says mincha ketana. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Amar. No, these examples are why-out examples. Like what he said, what are you making for Drayton Cup with a crazy haircut? La'olam b'tispara didon, la'olam b'tispara didon, real regular haircut. U'lechatchila mai lo yeshev. So why can't you go sit down and get a regular haircut, even a regular haircut? So says the Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Gzeira shem yishover hazug. The scissor may break, and I don't know what it takes so long to get another scissor, but it's the only scissor the barber has. I guess a zug was a very specialized piece of equipment, so they may only have had one, and he had to go run around and maybe forge another one and create another one and whatever it is. So you could be there, says, wait here, I'll be back in a couple of hours. Okay, you got one side of your head is cut, one side is not cut. You can't go out. So it could be. So that could be. That's not a far-fetched haircut, but the gzeira is a possibility. Velola merchatz. And not to go into a bathhouse. So you're not going in for the whole works, like we said before. Lahazia, you're simply going into schwitz. How long you want to schwitz for? You schwitz for an hour, be'alma. So lachatchila milo. So why can't you go in for a short schwitz, an hour schwitz? Gezeira shemiyit alafer. You may kind of faint. Too much heat, right? Whatever it is, and you kind of go faint. So you may end up being, until you recover from the fainting spell, the time for mincha may pass 6 hours later. V'lo leborski, and to a borski is not a big borski, not a big tannery, but liyuni be'alma. You're not even working all the highs. You want to go see what's going on there. So what's the problem? L'chatchila ma'lo. Why not? Dilma chazib seda. Bizvine umatrid. Maybe you'll see that the skins are going bad. You thought you're going to check the skins. You come in, you find out that all the chemicals are gone bad. The skins are rotting. The skins have to be taken out of the chemicals. So even though it looks like it's a routine kind of visit that may take you a half hour, you may end up being there 6 hours. Even at 12 o'clock, you may not come out till after dark. Dilma say that the bizvine, there's a loss in his merchandise. Umatrid gets tied down. V'lo lechol. And to eat does not mean a big, super lavish, fancy meal. Besuda ktana, regular suda, and the chatchila ma'lo. So why can't you have a regular meal? Dilma asilim shuche. Maybe you'll enjoy the meal so much you'll continue eating. You don't want to get up. I don't know. Right? You sit. Shabbos, right? Like Shabbos Shabbos is maybe a big meal. Big meal is usually like a wedding. You have a small meal on Shabbos, but you want to sit around the table longer. Velola din, okay, and not in. Not for din, not for judgment. It's not even just the beginning of judgment. Bigmar din means the last time when they come in, and the judges actually give the judgment. Usually din means the actual judgment. The case has been adjudicated. The judges come in and says, you're chayev, you're potter, you're guilty, you're innocent. So lachatchila ma'lo. So why can't you go in for the judgment call, whatever it is? So dilma chazi time of a sata dine. Maybe when they present it, as they present the case hearing or the case conclusion and decision, they'll find a reason that they have to reopen the case. So you may say, well, we're going to hear what the end of the case is going to be. It'll take us 20 minutes. The judge will tell us yes or no. I owe you, you owe me. And guess what? When they present it, they begin thinking. He says, no, we have to go back and reopen the case, and and there's something wrong here. So you may end up having it for a long period of time. So this is all about not doing these things. So there are two answers of the Gemara so far. Both answers really about mincha gedola, right? Not mincha ketana, because mincha ketana looks like even if you started, you should stop. That's what Rabbi Shimon Levi says. Mincha gedola is either super elaborate things like the super merchatz, the super meal, the super sapar barber, and that's logical why you can't do it early in the day. Or it's even short things, but there are things that have the potential for maybe going awry, and that could develop into something long. So those are the two choices between the two of them. But it looks like mincha ketana, you should never start, and if you started close to mincha ketana, you actually looks like you should break at this point. Now, what the Gemara is going to get into next week is going to say, so when is it considered you're in the barber chair? In other words, what is the beginning of getting a haircut? What is the beginning of going into the tannery? What is the beginning of going into? In other words, it says once you started, you can't stop.
can't stop.
So what is considered the beginning of the
Starting.
haircut? What do you consider the beginning of the haircut? Quickly, this is the trailer for next week.
Sitting down, sitting down.
Sitting in the
Sitting
chair.
down. So that's what you think. So the Gemara is going to say sitting down, and when the barber puts the cloth over you, then you're in. Okay, when the barber takes out that shmat and throws it over to catch the hair. They did. They had that cloth, yes. That's the beginning. When he puts the shmat down, then you're in, and until that point, you say, oh, I got to go daven mincha. Okay, so we'll stop here, and we'll pick up the next week, and it's going to be the same thing about stuff here, about all these items and some different tweaks on them. Okay?
Good stuff.
I had scissors. King Tut too. They found scissors.
Yeah.
King Tut? What do you
King
mean?
Tut. They found
What did they
scissors.
find?
Scissors. But not scissors with a pin. Not scissors like